This is the newest addition to my one tile per episode series, and sometimes you just have to redo old builds when you're not 100% satisfied with the result, and that's how we start today. I'm Imperatur, just a chill guy who loves playing city building games, and you're watching me building a huge drinking water reservoir and telecommunication towers on a hill to serve the whole city with perfect internet in the classic Imperatur speed build style. The build time was roughly 7 hours with at least 5 crashes. As I mentioned in the intro, I wasn't quite happy with the overall shape of the old lake, so I'm going to redesign it a bit, and while doing that, we're also going to move it up a few meters as well. So I'm terraforming the land a bit here, and yeah, just make the outline a few meters higher so that we can place a new dam to match the height of the new reservoir. The whole thing is again inspired by the reservoir close to Niagara Falls, like the whole region around the river here in general. I wanted to reproduce something similar here, but it also has similarities with a few Californian reservoirs because we will have these stone boundaries on the left and on the right because the slope to the bottom left, for example, is relatively steep. So to speak, we'll have 3 dams in total, but only one that can actually produce electricity, although I wasn't expecting much electricity production at all here. If you watched the previous episode with the dam, you already noticed that I had some problems making it functional, and it's not different here. But to be honest, the height difference is only minimal, so it's more like a barrier than a hydropower plant at all. This time I've also decided to make the shape a bit more natural and add a few more curves. Also, the upper coast will be more with bushes and trees instead of these breakwaters with rocks everywhere, so the whole lake just doesn't look as man-made, which at the end of the day it is, of course, we don't have to deny that. This area here has a pretty steep downward slope, and I had to think about how I wanted to solve it, so I just used the sloping tool to get a steady downward slope. I then led a road along it because the road down here in the middle is also the one where the highway exit from the last episode is, and I thought it had a more important role for the map, or not for the whole map, but rather for this neighborhood. So I'm going to run it up here along the boundary and connect it to the dam so that it ends up at the larger arterial road further back, which we'll also build later. I'll also cover the slope with stone surfaces and use the line tool to place all these baby stones so it looks relatively cool from near and far. You'll also have the grey background when you zoom out and the stones disappear, and yes, it turned out quite well. Maybe I'll inspire you to also build a freshwater reservoir in your city. to close this gap down here, I built a few more industrial warehouses and also put the road maintenance depot here, which we didn't even have in the city yet, so our roads in the city are finally in good condition after the maintenance gang have driven through there once and held up all the traffic. But yes, there will also be footpaths and sidewalks here because a lake like this can, of course, also serve as a recreational area for the local population. So you can relax and walk up here. Okay, it might not be relaxed because it's relatively steep, but you can definitely walk up here, have a fantastic view over the city and the bay, and maybe go for a swim in the summer. Maybe I should also place a small beach, but tell me how realistic that is at a reservoir like this with the dam nearby. I don't know to what extent there could be any currents that could be relatively hazardous. But yes, maybe I'll build a small beach at the beginning of the next episode or off camera. That would certainly be nice for the local population, or what do you think? Here I've embellished the dam a bit more, and I'm using my favorite props again, namely the horizontal pillars. We'll also use the static buildings to build a few smaller industrial units on top so that the dam just gets more texture, and finish the whole thing off with a few extra props like generators or grey colored carports, where I don't know what their use is, but I just copied the dam at the Niagara Falls reservoir, and there were these square-shaped roofs on top. The area around the dam I'll decorate with these small stones again, so we'll have the breakwater look along the shore, which will fit in well with the overall picture at the end of the day, as we've already used this detailing method in the past episodes. Also, sorry for the extreme brightness here in these frames. In some places it's just so overly bright, and in some it looks normal. I think that somehow has to do with the distance the camera is away. But yeah, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but in the end I'd say it's better to be too bright than too dark. Now I thought it would look really cool if we had a small hill here as a boundary to the reservoir on the right hand side, or from the dam at the top edge, and it's always nice to work a bit with the terrain anyway. There was a kind of slope here from the plain, which is significantly higher than the areas around the bay, so it doesn't make a big difference whether I add a bit more of terrain or not. I think it always looks really cool when you have hills or mountains in the city if you put a few telecommunication towers on top of them. These also have a good gameplay effect so that we can equip the city with good internet coverage. But we also have 3 different variants: the Japanese one, the big one and the small one. And if you put these 3 next to each other, it looks really cool in my opinion and gives your city a good focal point. It's not the highest point in the city though, we have a few much higher mountains around here, but it's definitely the closest to the future city center. And it's just a little detail I wanted to add. From up here you also have a good view over the city, and maybe one of the telecom masts will have a visitor viewing platform or something like that. I was definitely inspired to build that because of my own hometown. We have towers like these and now you can guess where it is. In the last part of today's episode, I'll fill the remaining open spaces with buildings, more nature, and a few farms. To do this, we'll build high-rise buildings right on the edge here again to increase the passenger volume for our metro station down here. The district itself isn't very big here, but I hope to extend it a little to the left. It won't go that far though, because I'm planning to build a large American-style highway interchange in one of the next episodes. But that will be the only one in the urban area, maybe because I want to have an East Coast-like city like Philadelphia or Baltimore or even parts of New York rather than these more western cities where the whole downtown core is surrounded by highways. But maybe I'll change my mind and we'll see. As you may know, I love building roads. I also don't know whether I should keep the direction of the grid for the later downtown or change it. It would definitely be easier to keep it as it matches the tiles. But I don't know if it would look too boring like that. What do you think? I've already shown you this tip in my railway tips video and I think it's super clever. Whether it has any gameplay benefit at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't think so, but you can place sound barriers next to railroad tracks or metro tracks by simply taking a narrow road, equipping it with sound barriers in the road builder mod and placing it next to the tracks. This way you have shielded metro tracks and the residents next to them are not so bothered by passing trains. My hand hurt a bit after placing all those trees, but in my opinion, if you're only going to build one part at a time anyway, you might as well take the trouble and place each tree individually. That way, you simply have a much denser forest and more control over where and what size the individual trees are. To create a bit of undergrowth, I also used these small bushes at the corners of the forest to create a smooth transition so that when you look at it from the side, it doesn't look like there's just nothing there. If you have extremely steep slopes in the city, it always makes sense to cover them up a bit with trees, because it's not as noticeable how steep the slope actually is as it would be if you were to build a road with buildings along it. It's much more difficult to achieve a reasonable look like that than simply putting a forest on the slope.
I thought I had everything, all the things life could bring, but now I do anything just to be together now. Yes, it's a new situation, triggered by physical vibrations, so many feels in circulation. And the past is history now. And I believe I was made for you, you were meant for me. Now's the time.
Here will be the third barrier I built in the stone look, where the level of the lake is higher than the surrounding terrain. Otherwise, I've already tried to make the terrain higher than the lake, but sometimes that's just not possible. I could also imagine that there used to be a valley here, but it was filled in later and now it's a freshwater reservoir to supply the city with drinking water. The water is fed from the lake here via underground pipes that branch off from the river a little further ahead and feed the water here. In my opinion, that makes sense. But if I have an error in my logic, then I would be happy if you would explain to me how it would be more realistic. With the rest of the episode, we'll just do a few more farms to get to the corner of the tile, and at the very end we'll also build a few detached houses, because I think this area here will be more for the rich, where people live on the hillside and so have a view of the city.
Something in our chemistry, you give so much joy to me, a long way from misery, wish we were together now. future now. And I believe I was made for you, you were meant for me. Now's the time, so I've got to tell you now. I want you in the sunset with me. Yeah, you're the one. You're the girl in my dreams. Well, there's a fire in your eyes. That's why I still believe. Let's build our future where we can be free. I want you in the sunset next to me. Come on, start a future. Come on, start a future. Come on, start a future. Come on, start a future here with me.
Very cool that you stuck around to the end. Unfortunately, I forgot to record the flying out, but I'm definitely really pleased with how everything turned out. Here we can see the before and after, and I think the whole build looks much better than the shape of the reservoir before. What do you think? Maybe I inspired you to build a dam and a freshwater lake for your city too. Who knows? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, you can give the video a like. If you want to support me further, you can visit my Patreon site. There you will find a save game for every episode, and with this addition the city has definitely become one amazing addition richer. You're very welcome to explore everything yourself down to the last detail, but don't forget to download all the mods I use. The mod list is also available there. I would like to thank all the people who have already supported me on Patreon so much, and I wish you all a wonderful rest of the day. See you for the next episode, when we'll continue with the next tile until we fill the complete map, so don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss any upcoming videos. Ciao ciao for now.